Hello, welcome to this very special edition of the Pace Report, reporting live here at the 2011 Detroit Jazz Festival here in downtown Detroit, here in Detroit, Michigan. Detroit native Regina Carter has brought the world her unique gift of playing jazz violin to millions of fans all over the world. Tonight she took part in a very special set with her group, Reverse Thread. And this project is really a hybrid of world music, ranging from Puerto Rico to Africa to all places in between. We sat down earlier today and we talked about her beginnings here in Detroit, why the Detroit Jazz Festival is very important both here and globally, as well as the project. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Miss Regina Carter here live at the 2011 Detroit Jazz Festival. Congratulations, welcome back home. What was it like playing to your home crowd tonight?
I love coming home and playing. I love coming home, first of all, but I get so much love when I come home, and my whole band said to me that even when they arrived and saw me, they said, "You're always beaming when you're in Detroit." And it's a great city. Detroit is a great city. It started suffering way before any other city in this country, and it's gone through a lot, but I see the progress, and the people that are here, the people that were able to stay here in this city, we are some proud, educated, strong-willed people, and the love was there. So I had so much fun.
You know, this festival brings back memories for you and myself, and the rich tradition of the music. And what is it about the Detroit Jazz Festival that's just so different from all the other festivals that you've performed and played at?
Well, there are so many great musicians from Detroit, jazz musicians, that never left the city. They decided to stay here and really keep the tradition going. People like Marcus Belgrave, Donald Walden, Ken Cox, the late Ken Cox, Lyman Woodard. It's just so many musicians, and we went through those schools, a bunch of us, me, Rodney Whitaker, Jerry Allen, just everybody would go through those schools, and a lot of them decided to stay here, so they kept that tradition going. So when you come here, you have such a strong base of musicians that are already here, and people, because they're able to hear quality jazz all year long, they know what it is they should be hearing. They know the real deal. So when you come to Detroit, you got to become it with your A game. And you have to be serious, because people here know the music, they respect the music, and they want to hear it.
You know, one of the things that we saw on the way over here, a staple of Detroit is being demolished, the Ford Auditorium. Tell me some of your musical experiences that, I guess, starting as a young lady into an adult. What were some of the shows that you saw there?
Well, as a child, I was a Suzuki student here in Detroit, and that's how I learned violin. And it's a method where they teach you to play by ear, same way we learn languages. And part of that was you had to go hear live music. So my mother would take me to Ford Auditorium to see the symphony, hear the symphony, to see the ballet, you know, opera, whatever was there, she was taking me. And I remember as a youngster sitting up in the balcony, we'd get free tickets from the music school. And I would sit there and say, one day that's going to be me. I'm going to be a soloist in front of that orchestra at a very young age. And I was in part of the Detroit Symphony Youth Orchestra way back when it first started. And actually, a funny story, I have an older brother that's a head stage hand at the Winter Garden in New York now. But he got his start when he was 12 by a stagehand there named Pepper. Took my brother under his wing and taught him about being a stagehand when he was 12 years old. And he's continued to do that, and I've continued to do the music. So we always laugh at how we both got our start at Ford Auditorium. And it was shocking. I kept looking at this rubble, and it didn't dawn on me until the third time we passed it yesterday. That's Ford Auditorium, and it just really hit me. When I come home and see that, or see my high school is gone, or the Detroit Community Music School is gone, certain places that were staples in my life, it really hurts. You know, it's like someone has torn a part of me away.
Congratulations on this monumental project called Reverse Thread. What I love about this project is that you have really taken a real passionate interest in going all over the world and listening to music all over the world and putting it in world music form meets jazz. This project, Reverse Thread, is something I've wanted to do since the days of living here in Detroit. Growing up here, Detroit at that time was very diverse culturally, and you know, you could hear music from every place of the world right here, because people migrated here because of the automotive industry and Motown. So I think the music that most attracted me when I was younger was the Middle Eastern music, the scale, because it was so different than anything I had heard. But hearing how some of the vocalists and in either strings, how they play and slide into the notes and play the quarter tones, it was all very intriguing for me. So it opened up my ears and made me start listening to a lot of different music. When I started playing jazz, one of the violinists someone turned me on to was Dr. Al Subramaniam from India. Just some amazing stuff I'd never heard before. So I've always been intrigued by other music and other culture and just wanted to experiment. And jazz is always about that. It's about encompassing other. You know, you look at Dizzy, who traveled around the world, and you'd hear those sounds in his music. So that's jazz is. It kind of takes in other things. Jazz is like if you're cooking, it's like your sauce, and other things that we bring in. Those are the other spices that you add into the music. And so when I got the MacArthur Fellowship, then that allowed me to be able to make this record, because a lot of major labels they weren't interested because they said it wouldn't sell. There was no outlet to play the record. I didn't care if it sold. It was just something I needed to do for myself.
and people hear it. I think it was a spiritual project for me, and it seems that it comes across to people that way. It touches them in a way that I never even imagined. And I'm still on a journey, and the journey, listening to this music from other continents and hearing how we're all related. We all come from the same thing, and you really hear it in the music.
You know, Detroit is where it all started for you, and take us briefly through a little journey. I mean, we don't see too many sisters or women of color playing the violin, yet alone you've broken the mold playing soul, jazz, classical, and gospel.
You know, I have to attribute that to not only my mother, who was a very strong personality in my life. She didn't believe in barriers, and she never allowed us to use our color to say, oh, we didn't get that, or we aren't advancing because of. There was none of that. It was like, if we weren't getting it, she said it's because we weren't working hard enough, or maybe that wasn't for us to have and we had to have something else. So we weren't allowed to use excuses. Also, some of my early teachers, although they were not African American, all of them saw something in me and really pushed me and helped to shape me. And they saw that I could really go somewhere. And they said, she's going to have a difficult time if she wants to do European classical music because of her color. They were very honest with my mother. But they said, but we think she can do it. So just hearing that, then my mother said, if it's something you want to do, then you will do it. And don't let anything stand in your way. And that was, for me, very necessary, I think, a necessary lesson, because it's easy to say, not take responsibility for why we don't get something. And sometimes it's just not for us to have. It's as simple as that.
You know, Ron Carter, another famous and another jazz luminary, went through the very same thing. He started off classical. In fact, classical is still his love, but unfortunately the powers that be, people of color, have not really broken the glass ceiling as far as playing in orchestras and symphonies. Why is that?
You know, I'm not really sure. Unfortunately, there's racism that exists everywhere. I don't care. It exists in the arts and in the music. I don't know, because there certainly are. You know, no one can argue and say that there aren't players that can handle that music and play that music, and there are. But for whatever reason, some of that still exists in those situations. So you think about the DSO, Detroit Symphony, for so long. Strickland was the only African American in there for years. And in a lot of orchestras now, you can count on one hand how many African Americans. And it's not because they're not talented enough, you know, or strong enough players. And a lot of times people get those chairs, you're locked into those chairs until you retire. And, you know, so it's not like chairs are opening up all the time either. You know, I just say if someone really wants to do it, you'll find a way, whether it's to play in the orchestra or be a guest. My thing was, I'm going to be a guest with the orchestra. So,
Regina, what is your take now? And this is another sad reality that's happening in the arts. A lot of symphony orchestras now are filing for bankruptcy. The incident in Syracuse, the incident in Philadelphia, Denver. This is a sad day for just classical music and the arts.
it's, you know, it's difficult for the arts, period. It's the first thing. That's the first thing that gets slashed in a budget, the arts, money for the arts. But, you know, I think for a long time when I was growing up, it seemed like European classical music was presented in a way where it was museum music. And the only reason it kept my interest, I had a teacher explain to me what these pieces meant when they were written, certain symphonies, and explain what was happening politically when these pieces were written, how people reacted. So there was a story. So I understood when I would hear these pieces, I understood the whole background, which makes it interesting. But if someone doesn't know that and they go to hear it, it might not be something that they connect with. And I think a lot of orchestras forgot that they needed to connect with their audiences, and they couldn't just keep playing these same pieces because the audiences, those audiences were dying off. You have younger people coming up now that have different musical tastes. You have to still be able to reach them. So some of them now are saying, okay, what do we have to do? We have to take responsibility and reach out and try and connect with these people, the younger audiences, and build their audiences. And so a lot of them are coming up with some creative ways and introducing some other music into the repertoire, which I think is necessary. You just can't keep playing the same stuff. You know, some people don't want to hear that. It's, you know, there's some beautiful music there, but I think you have to add on to it, and it has to keep growing.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report, reporting live here at the 2011 Detroit Jazz Festival here in downtown Detroit. I'd like to personally thank Ms. Regina Carter for her time, as well as the staff and management and the organizers of this year's 2011 Detroit Jazz Festival here in Detroit. As always, please visit my website, www.thepacereport.com, for my weekly column as well as my past segments. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Until next time, peace.